Imagine this. A spiteful HOA Karen drunk on her little power trip calls the cops to kick a teenage girl off her family's sprawling ranch. But in just 4 minutes, her meddling unleashes a legal avalanche that buries her HOA under a staggering $5 million lawsuit. You won't believe how one phone call turned into a ranch owner's ultimate revenge. Stick around for the full story of entitlement gone horribly wrong. If you're loving these wild HOA horror stories, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and turn on notifications so you never miss out on the next epic takedown. Share your own Karen encounters in the comments below. Let's build a community of comeback kings and queens. The sun hung low over the rolling hills of Willow Creek Ranch, casting long shadows across the vast expanse of land that had been in the Thompson family for generations. Nestled in the outskirts of a growing suburban town, the ranch spanned over 500 acres, a patchwork of green pastures, sturdy barns, and a charming old farmhouse that whispered tales of hard work and heritage. At the heart of it all was Elena Thompson, a resilient widow in her late 50s who had taken over the ranch after her husband's untimely passing 5 years earlier. With calloused hands and a steely determination, she managed the daily operations, from tending to the horses to overseeing the small herd of cattle that grazed lazily under the open sky. Her daughter, Mia, a spirited 17-year-old with a passion for equestrian sports, was her right hand, spending her after-school hours mucking stalls, training young foals, and dreaming of one day turning the ranch into a haven for rescue animals. The Thompsons' life was one of quiet contentment, far removed from the manicured lawns and cookie-cutter homes of the nearby Willow Estates neighborhood, where the Homeowners Association ruled with an iron fist. Leading this self-appointed regime was Karen Whitaker, a woman in her early 60s whose days were filled with petty grievances and an unquenchable thirst for control. Karen had moved to Willow Estates a decade ago, drawn by the promise of upscale living, but she quickly ascended to the HOA presidency, wielding her position like a scepter. Her reputation preceded her. Neighbors whispered about her relentless enforcement of rules, from fining families for slightly overgrown hedges to organizing witch hunts against anyone who dared paint their mailbox the wrong shade of beige. But Karen's ambitions extended beyond the subdivision's boundaries. She had long eyed the Thompson Ranch with envy and disdain, viewing it as an eyesore that lowered property values. The ranch's rustic charm clashed with her vision of a pristine, uniform community, and she often complained at HOA meetings about the unsightly barns visible from the edge of the estates. Whispers of expansion plans floated through the neighborhood, rumors that developers were interested in annexing parts of the ranch to build more luxury homes, a move that would line the HOA's pockets with assessment fees and boost Karen's ego. Unbeknownst to the Thompsons, Karen had been quietly lobbying local officials, gathering signatures for petitions that painted the ranch as a nuisance. She documented every perceived infraction, the occasional whinny of a horse carried on the wind, the faint scent of manure on breezy days, even the dust kicked up by trucks delivering feed. Her dossier grew thick with photos and complaints, all aimed at pressuring the Thompsons to sell or subdivide. Elena, aware of the simmering tension, had always dismissed it as harmless neighborhood drama. She paid her taxes, followed zoning laws, and kept to herself, believing that the ranch's historical status as agricultural land protected it from suburban encroachment. Mia, however, sensed the growing hostility. During her rides along the property lines, she sometimes caught glimpses of Karen peering through binoculars from her backyard, her face twisted in disapproval. One crisp autumn afternoon, as golden leaves danced in the breeze, Mia decided to take her favorite horse, Thunder, for a gallop across the back pastures. The ranch bordered Willow Estates on one side, separated by a simple wire fence that had stood for decades. Unaware of the invisible lines Karen had drawn in her mind, Mia guided Thunder along a familiar trail, the horse's hooves thundering against the earth. From her vantage point, Karen spotted the girl and her mount, interpreting the innocent ride as a deliberate provocation. In her twisted logic, the ranch's activities were spilling over, threatening the sanctity of her domain. Fuming, she grabbed her phone and dialed the local police non-emergency line, her voice dripping with feigned urgency as she reported a trespassing incident involving a delinquent youth on what she claimed was HOA-managed land. Though the ranch was private property, Karen embellished her story, insisting that the girl was endangering neighborhood children and violating noise ordinances. Within minutes, a patrol car rolled up the dirt driveway to the Thompson farmhouse, its lights flashing ominously. Elena, elbow deep in sorting hay bales, wiped her brow and approached the officers with a puzzled expression. The two policemen, seasoned locals familiar with the area's dynamics, explained the complaint. A neighbor alleged that Mia was trespassing and needed to be removed from the property immediately. Elena's confusion turned to incredulity as she clarified that Mia was her daughter, riding on their own land. The officers, sensing the misunderstanding, radioed for clarification while Mia, alerted by the commotion, trotted back to the barn. Karen, not content to wait, had followed the patrol car in her SUV, parking at the edge of the ranch and marching toward the group with righteous indignation. Her arrival escalated the situation. She pointed accusingly at Mia, demanding that the intruder be evicted forthwith. The officers, now piecing together the absurdity, asked Karen to produce evidence of her claims. She brandished her phone, showing blurry photos of the fence line, insisting that the HOA had easement rights over the adjacent land, a blatant fabrication. Elena, her patience wearing thin, retrieved the property deeds from the farmhouse, ancient documents yellowed with age that clearly delineated the ranch's boundaries. As the officers reviewed them, Karen's facade began to crack, her demands growing shriller. In a desperate bid to assert authority, she threatened to sue the police department for negligence if they didn't comply. The standoff drew on, with Mia standing silently beside her mother, thunder nickering nervously in the background. 4 minutes after the officers' arrival, precisely timed by Elena's watch, a pivotal realization dawned. One officer, a veteran with knowledge of local history, recalled a long-standing covenant attached to the ranch's title. Buried in the deeds was a clause from the early 1900s. When the land was first settled, any attempt to infringe upon the property through false claims or harassment could trigger a reversionary interest held by a conservation trust. This trust, established to preserve agricultural lands, had the power to sue for damages if the ranch's integrity was threatened. Karen's call, coupled with her on-site confrontation, constituted clear harassment. Elena, remembering her late husband's warnings about the clause, mentioned it casually. The officer's eyes widened. They advised Karen to leave immediately, warning her of potential civil liabilities. Undeterred, Karen doubled down, snapping photos of everyone involved and vowing to escalate to the HOA board. As she stormed off, the seeds of her downfall were sown. That evening, Elena contacted the family lawyer, a sharp-minded attorney named Marcus Hale, who specialized in property disputes. Reviewing the incident, Marcus's interest piqued at the mention of the reversionary clause. A deeper dive revealed that the trust, funded by wealthy philanthropists, had amassed a war chest for such battles. Karen's actions not only violated local ordinances against false reporting, but activated the clause, allowing the trust to claim damages equivalent to the land's appraised value, over $5 million. The lawsuit would name the HOA as defendant, arguing that Karen acted in her official capacity. Word spread quickly through Willow Estates, with neighbors anonymously tipping off Elena about Karen's behind-the-scenes machinations. Emails leaked showing Karen's coordination with developers to pressure the Thompsons. As the chapter closed on that fateful day, the ranch stood silent under the stars. But the air hummed with impending justice, setting the stage for a courtroom reckoning that would dismantle the HOA's grip. In the days following the confrontation, the Thompson ranch buzzed with a newfound energy, a mix of trepidation and resolve as Elena and Mia prepared for the legal storm ahead. Marcus Hale, their attorney, wasted no time, filing an emergency motion to preserve evidence and notifying the Conservation Trust of the breach. The Trust, a venerable organization dedicated to safeguarding rural landscapes from urban sprawl, responded with enthusiasm, assigning their top litigators to the case. Meanwhile, in Willow Estates, Karen Whitaker rallied her HOA board, portraying the incident as a valiant defense against rural encroachment. Board meetings turned into strategy sessions, with Karen downplaying the risks and assuring members that the Thompsons were bluffing. Little did she know, the trust's involvement elevated the dispute from a neighborhood squabble to a high-stakes battle. Discovery phase began swiftly, with subpoenas flying for HOA records, emails, and meeting minutes. What emerged painted a damning picture. Karen had orchestrated a campaign of harassment, including anonymous complaints to animal control, fabricated noise violations, and even a petition to rezone the ranch as residential. One particularly incriminating email thread revealed her collusion with a real estate developer, promising HOA support for annexation in exchange for kickbacks disguised as community improvements. Neighbors, weary of Karen's tyranny, began to defect, providing affidavits about her abusive tactics. One family recounted how she fined them $500 for a child's lemonade stand. Another described her threats to foreclose over unpaid dues. The Thompsons, insulated on their ranch, focused on daily life. Mia threw herself into her equestrian pursuits, training Thunder for an upcoming show, finding solace in the rhythm of hooves and the scent of fresh hay. Elena, ever the pillar, managed the operations with quiet efficiency, though nights brought restless thoughts of what the lawsuit might bring. As depositions loomed, Karen's composure frayed. Summoned to testify, she arrived at the law offices clad in her signature power suit, but her bravado masked mounting anxiety. Under questioning, she admitted to calling the police but claimed it was a good faith error. Pressed on the easement lie, she faltered, her responses evasive. The trust's lawyers, armed with geosurveys proving the boundaries, dismantled her story. Back at the ranch, Elena received updates from Marcus, each revelation strengthening their position. The $5 million claim wasn't arbitrary. Appraisals valued the ranch at $4.8 million, with additional punitive damages for emotional distress and legal fees. The HOA's insurance carrier, sensing defeat, pushed for settlement, but Karen resisted, convinced her influence would prevail. Community backlash grew. Online forums lit up with stories of Karen's antics, dubbing her HOA Hitler. A local news outlet picked up the story, framing it as a David versus Goliath tale of a family ranch fighting suburban greed. Mia, scrolling through social media, saw memes mocking Karen, a small vindication amid the stress. As winter approached, the ranch transformed under a blanket of frost, horses steaming in the cold air as Mia led morning exercises. Elena pondered expansions inspired by the trust's support, perhaps a sanctuary for abused animals, fulfilling Mia's dream. But shadows lingered. Karen, desperate, launched counterclaims accusing the Thompsons of nuisance and seeking injunctions against ranch activities. Marcus swiftly moved to dismiss, citing lack of merit. A pivotal hearing arrived, the courtroom packed with spectators. The judge, reviewing evidence, ruled in favor of the Thompsons on key motions, allowing the lawsuit to proceed to trial. Karen left fuming, her board fracturing as members demanded her resignation. Whispers of embezzlement surfaced, funds misallocated to her personal vendettas. The trust escalated, adding claims of fraud. Elena and Mia, returning to the ranch, felt a shift. The once distant threat now crumbled. Mia's show triumph boosted morale, Thunder taking ribbons as cheers echoed. Yet the battle's toll showed. Elena aged slightly, lines etched deeper. As spring hinted, mediation loomed, a chance for resolution. Karen, isolated, faced reality. Her empire teetered. The chapter waned with the ranch awakening to birdsong, poised for victory's dawn, leading to the climactic unraveling. The mediation room in the county courthouse was stark, fluorescent lights buzzing overhead as representatives from all sides gathered around a polished oak table. Elena Thompson sat composed, flanked by Marcus Hale and the Conservation Trust's lead attorney, a formidable woman named Lydia Grant. Across from them, Karen Whitaker appeared diminished, her usual poise replaced by a haggard expression, accompanied by the HOA's beleaguered lawyer and a nervous board member. The mediator, a neutral veteran of property disputes, outlined the stakes. The Thompsons and Trust sought $5 million in damages, backed by ironclad evidence of harassment, false claims, and the activated reversionary clause. The HOA's defenses had crumbled during discovery. Leaked documents confirmed Karen's orchestration of a multi-year campaign to force the ranch's sale, including forged signatures on petitions and unauthorized surveillance. Lydia presented a timeline projecting slides of emails where Karen gloated about running those hicks out of town. The HOA lawyer, sweating profusely, argued for mitigation, claiming Karen acted rogue, but internal memos showed board approval for her actions. Elena, silent throughout, felt a surge of validation. This wasn't just about money but preserving her family's legacy. Mia, waiting outside, paced the hallway, her mind on the ranch, horses needing feed, fences to mend. The negotiations dragged, offers volleying. The HOA proposed $500,000, dismissed outright. Lydia countered with $4 million, emphasizing punitive elements. Karen, breaking protocol, interjected defensively, but the mediator silenced her. As hours ticked, the HOA's insurer intervened via phone, authorizing up to $3 million to avoid trial. But Lydia held firm, citing precedents where similar encroachments yielded full appraisals. A break allowed tensions to simmer. Elena stepped out, embracing Mia, whispering assurances. Returning, the breakthrough came. Forensic accounting revealed Karen had diverted HOA funds for personal legal fees, prompting the board member to turn state's evidence. Faced with internal betrayal, Karen capitulated. The settlement, $5 million plus attorney's fees, with Karen resigning immediately and the HOA issuing a public apology. The trust would oversee a conservation easement on the ranch, ensuring perpetual protection. Signatures sealed the deal, the room emptying with a palpable release. Outside, Elena and Mia drove back under a clear sky, the weight lifting. The ranch welcomed them, pastures vibrant in spring bloom. Funds arrived swiftly, Elena investing in upgrades, new barns, rescue facilities, fulfilling Mia's vision. Karen, disgraced, sold her home quietly, moving away amid neighborhood scorn. The HOA reformed, electing a moderate board, rules relaxed. Willow Estates and the ranch coexisted peacefully, the fence a mere boundary, not a battle line. Mia, thriving, pursued veterinary studies, the ranch her foundation. Elena, reflecting on the ordeal, found strength in adversity, the land enduring as a testament to resilience. The story closed with the sun setting over Willow Creek. A chapter of entitlement ended. Justice served in full measure. Thanks for tuning in to this insane HOA takedown tale. If it got your blood boiling or left you cheering, drop a like, subscribe for more epic revenge stories, and comment your wildest neighbor nightmares below. Hit that bell to stay notified, and we'll see you in the next one.